So leaving the party of my, of my family is very, very difficult for me. But it was a choice that I didn't feel I had a choice about. And I think it's the right thing right now because we're seeing that, it's the same corporate donors that control both of the parties. And the parties are in paralysis. They cannot, within that party system, they're locked in this war with each other, and the polarization, the name calling. They're polarizing the American public, and we need a strategy for unity. We need a strategy for bringing people together. And what I've found traveling the country is that there's much more, even among the most extreme Democrats and Republicans. There's still more that we have in common than the issues that are being used to drive us apart. Everybody wants a clean environment. Everybody wants to take care of our veterans. Everybody wants our kids to have a good education. And everybody wants to make sure the regulatory agencies are serving the public interest instead of working for the corporations that they're supposed to regulate. And I think we need somebody who's going to find those areas of agreement, the values we agree on, rather than focus on these little issues that have us at each other's throats.
As a lifelong Democrat, are you worried that you will be taking 10, maybe 20% of Biden's votes?
I hope to take votes from both President Biden and President Trump.
And look at the stats that shows you you have 48% approval with Republicans, and you have about 14% approval with Democrats. So Donald Trump's going to look at you as a threat if he does, in fact, get the nomination. Are you ready for him to come after you?
Yeah, I feel like I have my own moral center, and I'm not going to engage in the bitterness. I hope Donald Trump will dispute me on the issues, and that we can all talk about the issues that affect America and what's happening to the middle class, the systematic destruction of the middle class.
You agree on a lot.
Yeah, there are areas of agreements, and there's areas that I have agreement with President Biden. So I think people are tired of the vitriol, and I'm not going to engage in that.
So, as I just mentioned there, RFK Jr. is seen as more favorable among Republican voters as opposed to Democratic voters. That's most likely because of three different things. Of course, is that RFK Jr. is more skeptical than most Democratic voters are as far as vaccines go. He also supports the Second Amendment rights. He doesn't believe that, gun control or just taking guns out of the hands of Americans is going to solve the violence issue. And then he also opposes more funding to go towards Ukraine. We've already sent, well over $100 billion towards them. And a lot of Democrats are actually in favor of sending even more money over to Ukraine, whereas RFK Jr. actually opposes that. So because of these things, and of course because, maybe RFK Jr. more so aligning with Republican voters, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to end up stealing more votes from Trump instead of stealing more votes from Biden. And if we actually look at this new poll from CBS, we can actually see that does just the opposite. So you can see here, they have a poll where it's just going to be Biden versus Trump. And when it's Biden versus Trump, and without Kennedy in the race whatsoever, it's pretty much a dead heat. We have two polls there where it's dead even. We have one poll there where Trump wins by 3. We have one poll there by Beacon, Shaw, and Fox News where Biden would actually win by 1. But then whenever we do throw Kennedy into the race, we actually have Trump or the Republican candidate actually winning by even more. So we can see the one by Echelon Insights. We have the Republican candidate or Trump winning by 1 more, as opposed to he's going from 3 to 4. And then, pretty much have Republicans picking up votes in each of those. So you can see there right in the polls that clearly whenever we add RFK Jr. into the race with Biden and Trump, that's going to favor Trump, whereas we're going to have more Democratic voters voting for RFK Jr. instead of Biden, whereas, a lot of Trump supporters are going to vote for Trump no matter what, even if they do somewhat support RFK Jr. Now, the interview, they go on to say that, RFK Jr. goes on to, mention that a lot of people are just voting, or maybe they did just vote for Biden because they considered him to be the safe candidate. Well, not really sure how you could call him the safe candidate, considering that all of the inflation that we've had over the past couple of years, And of course, right now we are closer to World War III than we've been in quite some time.
Franklin Roosevelt said to us, the only thing to fear is fear itself. I don't know anybody in the Democratic Party who's saying, I'm voting for President Biden because I think he can govern the country well. They are all say, I'm voting for President Biden because I don't want Trump to be president, because he's dangerous. And that is, again, it's the impulse to govern by fear rather than, inspiring.
Right.
Let me just say one quick thing. There's a poll that recently came out that showed that in 2013, 85% of American kids between 18 and 35 said they were proud of the United States of America. The same poll taken 3 weeks ago said that only 17% are. So
sad.
we are, this politics of vitriol is just, we have completely betrayed that generation of American kids.
And of course, while the presidential election is still a little bit over 1 year away, right now at the moment we're still trying to elect a House Speaker after House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was booted from his seat. And of course, we had Steve Scalise step up to the plate. He failed. Then we had Jim Jordan. He stepped to the plate next. He failed as well. And now we're mixed in with a few different candidates. And right now they're looking at Representative Byron Donalds. Let me know what your thoughts are on him below. Would you like to see a House Speaker Byron Donalds? But here he is making his case on why he should be the next House Speaker. Watch.
What's your position on more money for Ukraine?
My position is that we have to change a number of things. Number one, we need an inspector general over there actually accounting for those dollars. Number two, the White House needs to actually have a strategy for us. And what's the purpose and what's the end goal of all of this? All of that has not been clear. And here's the biggest one, Rachel. This money has to be paid for. The White House won $60 billion. Meanwhile, one of the key elements of their plan with respect to the Green New Deal, estimates are it's going to cost the American people $1 to $2 trillion. We have to pay for this money. We can't just send it out without any ability to take care of the purse strings of the American people. And we need to make sure that's done.
So are you suggesting the money go out to Ukraine, but that we maybe take it away from what was allocated for the Green New Deal? Or are you saying Ukraine has enough money?
What I'm saying is two things. Number one, we have to evaluate what Ukraine already has. But number two, if the White House is going to say their primary mission now is funding Ukraine, and they need to defund one of their other priorities. We are already $33 trillion in debt. We're running a $2 trillion deficit this year. We cannot continue this because the fiscal health of our nation will be in jeopardy.
Okay, I have a couple questions. So really quick one on this. If you become Speaker, will you release all of the January 6th footage?
I will, absolutely.
Okay, great. Next question. We are obviously, as you know, and this is probably the most dangerous time in our lifetime. We're on the brink of World War III. We want to support Israel to, protect themselves and defend themselves. But how do we, and how does Congress, what do you do to make sure that America doesn't get drawn into yet another conflict?
Well, this is going to be the toughest thing. We have to be supportive of Israel. They are our ally. They were attacked, and they must obliterate Hamas. I am fully supportive of that, as are my colleagues on Capitol Hill. But with respect to being pulled into World War III, something none of us want, this is going to take leadership from Joe Biden. Leadership, by the way, he's not shown to any point at this time. So it starts also with going back to the Iranian sanctions that were under President Trump and having this White House reverse course on some of their desires with Iran, trying to negotiate through the back door. That will be a big step forward to avoiding this global conflict.
So,
number two, there has to be a strategic vision and goal for what's happening in Ukraine. If you can get those two things accomplished, that'll take us to a much safer place around the globe.
I think most of our viewers would agree that we need new leadership. What has this fight among the Republicans in Congress done to potentially damage the presidential election for Republicans?
Well, look, I don't think that, once we get past this, and I think we are going to get past this pretty quickly, and I think we're going to get back to business. We're going to continue to go back into this political discussion, this fight with the White House about what the true priorities of America are. So I don't think it's going to damage the presidential election. And let's be very clear. Joe Biden's presidency has not been good for the American people. They know that in spite of the impasse in House leadership. I think we're going to get back to work. I think that we're going to demonstrate what conservative leadership is in the House of Representatives, and we're going to be just fine in 2024.